we've lost the specialness in giving a gift sometimes. The meaning behind the gifts lots of times is way more important than the actual gift. And when you present a gift to a friend or a family member and it's wrapped in beautiful paper and has like a thought out little embellishment or whatever, it makes it feel special. And so, and not only that, if you are a creative type, it's so fun to like mix and match the patterns. And, you know, there's just something creative about actually wrapping it. And then the receiver of the gift feels like, oh, that felt special, you know? And
it's not just about what was given. It's the whole experience and the thought that goes into it.
Which I feel like is a lost art. I mean, back in the day, you know, in this class, they talked about like these vintage ribbons that they would use to wrap. It's like you never throw away a ribbon. Like it's this beautiful piece of fabric. And it's just like you keep your ribbons and you keep your papers and you can reuse them. And it's more about like the specialness and the history.
I need to tell my kids about this because I'm always the person teased at Christmas because I'm the saver. I have like a box of where I keep ribbon and I refold the tissue paper, and if the bag's not ripped, I'll save it. And I have like drawers that different size bags go in. And so at Christmas, I'm like the one just making sure we're opening everything really orderly and wrapping as we go. Because I like to keep a really clean system. Yeah. And the kids sometimes are like, Mom, are you kidding me? Can we just like, awesome. Can you stop making us clean as we go? But I'm gonna tell them, I'm gonna say, no. Yes, I learned from Kirsten that this is my art form I'm practicing.
You are being creative. You can repurpose it in different ways. And
they're like, yeah, you're just tricking us into just being clean.
you that too. That's great.
So going back to this summer you spent over in Europe, I know you did that once and you fell in love with it. And it was kind of if I remember correctly, you did it because you needed to as a family. You felt like overworked. Your husband was like, it was almost like an intervention.
Yeah.
And then it's become a tradition.
Yes.
So tell us about that, because I think there's some unique things we can learn from what you're doing.
Yeah. I just remember it was a time of life where my husband was just feeling so overworked in life. And I was in the throes of, you know, just busyness with helping out with school and with kids. And there just was so much happening. Our kids were involved in so much. And, you know, it's hard when you're in the middle of it to say,
enough.
We're stopping. But for some reason, it's okay to tell someone we're leaving on a vacation or on a sabbatical or whatever you want to call it. And you can just let those things go.
Yeah, because everything we think, all those plates spinning in the air that we think are going to crash if we leave, actually do somehow
figure themselves out. Yeah.
And so we really can choose what we want to do and how we want to spend our time if we can listen to ourselves.
Yeah. So it gave us a good break to be like, we're gone for this month, you know, disconnect from a lot of work stuff and home stuff. And this is just, we're going to center on our family and just enjoy this. And it truly, I told my husband after we came back, that was like one of the best months of my life. And he said, well, then why don't we do it again? And I was like, okay, let's do it again.
Which takes time and money. So there's sacrifice that goes into that.
Right.
It's not being done without a lot of thought of the pros and cons.
For sure. Because it was 2 years later that we were able to do it again. It wasn't like a right away the next day or the next month or, you know, it's not.
But it was worth saving up for.
It was worth saving up for. It was worth carving out time to do it. And I mean, we had to make some sacrifices too. My daughter was in dance and she missed her high school dance camp for that week. And, you know, there was worries like she might get docked and not be in the front performing or, you know, like things that sometimes we get very caught up with.
Oh, when you're at that age, those things are everything. And it's hard because as a mother, you want to say, well, this isn't going to matter later, but not to them in the moment. So you have to really be convincing or have a pretty big case to get everyone on the same page to make those sacrifices.
And everyone's going to come out differently on how they want to approach that. But for us in our stage of life and the circumstances, it was, you know what, we can table that. It's not going to be the end of the world. You might not be in the front row.
But you were willing to, like, the consequences we are willing to accept.
Yeah, because this, to our family, felt more important than, getting center stage.
So those were some big choices, some big sacrifices. If you could distill it into 3 or a couple of the greatest blessings and gifts that came to you that make it something that now you're trying to recreate as many summers as you can.
Yeah.
What are those?
I think this idea of slowing down, but in a way that felt enticing. Sometimes, it feels good to stay busy but this was a different kind of slow down. It was like a slow yourself down, but not you're sitting on the couch and are bored. And,
Right.
It was just to enjoy the little things that are just in front of us. And I think I will forever in my mind have that seared of this beautiful countryside and being with my family and eating delicious food and cooking meals together. And, my girls made like this funny dance with the cows. And like it was
All these
just-
inside jokes now.
yes, exactly. And I just feel like that slowing down piece, like I now tangibly know what that feels like and how rewarding it is that I just am like, I want to go back to that. And so I feel like that will forever stick with me.
What about your girls? Do they now?
I should ask them that. I mean, I'm sure, they loved the trip as much as
Are
I
they
did.
more willing to make the sacrifices to go now that you've done it a few times?
No, I think there's
They know the
kind of a family
trade-offs.
tradition around this idea of going to a fun, different place. And it doesn't need to be Europe. It can be like going to one of the national parks and RVing to a national park and exploring, a new area. But for sure, it has become part of our family tradition. So I do feel like that is, I'm trying to think, what was the question?
Well, I was just,
Where did we
what
start?
were the few things that are the big, ahas for your family, the blessings that came that make it, something that's worth doing again?
Yeah. And I do think like that, it really did come out of this trip. It was kind of like that extra nudge that I needed, that it opened up this idea or this place that did not exist
Right.
in my world.
And probably gave you the amount of energy
Yeah.
and perspective to do something courageous and different like that, because I think it's hard to see the opportunity sometimes when you are running and in the busyness of your life, but when you can take yourself away and have a shift in perspective, I think you give room for possibility.
Yeah.
And more room for the growth of belief that you can do something like that.
I agree.
So that you could come back and then be in the position to say, see that building and realize, I could do that, because you're rested and you're in a place of creation from having nurtured yourself and your family, and I think had your needs met.
Yeah, exactly that. There was room for that.
There's room for that.
And also I think sometimes being in our little pocket or bubble or whatever you want to call it, it feels like this is too strong of a force to make a change in. Like if the culture is to be go, 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 or to, always be on your phones, it's sometimes feels bigger than yourself. And I do think sometimes it is, but it opened up this like new world when I would see people at a dinner table that they were reading books and didn't have their phone on, or saying,
There's a different way to do
there's
life.
a different way I would see people in Paris sitting on the little park benches and watching boats go by, and they're talking. And I just thought, this is a really big, busy city. Like, how are they still keeping some of these pieces of friendship and connection in this world? And so it gave me this inspiration, like, we can still do this.
Yes.
We can still do it.
Yes.
We just need to provide a space, an incentive, or whatever to get people to do it. You kind of needed that.
You need to prioritize it.
Yeah.
And once you get the taste of that life,
Right.
I'm so glad you brought it back to us here.
It's a great life for sure.